Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Intel. It is time for another update and we seem to have extended within the white interpretation to higher prices, which really is putting a delay on the yellow interpretation where we have been looking for a quite great opportunity to take place. Now this doesn't invalidate the yellow scenario, and we have explained in the previous video on Intel very deeply and carefully why we are waiting for the yellow scenario, why we are looking for a trade setup within the white interpretation, at least not from this larger time frame. Now, before we get into all the details, all the levels to watch out for today, I want to go briefly through the larger time frame to provide the full context for this chart. So, on this chart, we have an initial 5-wave move to the upside. We have been tracking within a wave 1, a potential leading diagonal. It's not a perfect structure by any means, but we have managed to create a 3-wave correction perfectly into the last level of support, from which point we generated this massive reversal, this very nice movement to the upside that has generated quite a lot of profit for many people. Yeah, we have extended over 200% at this point from this low. Yeah, we are looking at 230%, and this uptrend is expected to extend a lot higher, especially if it manages to follow through within the blue interpretation, where currently we would expect a wave 3 to be taking place, in which case we would expect an impulse in this structure, something along the lines of this yellow interpretation, and we would expect to reach around $200. That is the ideal target for the wave 3, nearly $200, and it is a mathematical level. It's not just a target we made up from thin air. It's an extension based on the length of the wave 1 and the wave 2, right? And if you want to track this pattern along with us as we develop it, as we find future opportunities on this chart, I would encourage you to subscribe, as we will be here to provide any relevant update, any level that needs to be watched within this movement to the upside. Now, in the smaller time frame, we have been looking to have potentially formed a leading diagonal within this as a wave 1 in yellow, and within this idea, we would have actually liked to have a top in place. In such a scenario, we would have looked for a wave 2 retracement into the support zone that we have here in yellow, and really this yellow scenario is just the blue interpretation, but we have chosen a color that can be more visible on top of the larger blue support zone, just to highlight how this would be placed within deeper support levels, how great of an opportunity this actually is for continuation to higher prices. This is no longer necessary to track this larger area of support in yellow, nor this internal structure, as the white interpretation seems to be forming an extension for this yellow wave 1. Nonetheless, we do not see this yellow interpretation as invalidated. We are looking at a mere extension within this wave 1 before we can once again start to look for the larger wave 2 correction. In the end, there are other scenarios we could be tracking within this movement to the upside, even within the idea of an extension, but for me, the preferred scenario, the preferred outcome for this overall pattern would be where the wave 3 would have instead topped all the way up here, and then we would have here the wave 4 and the wave 5. At this point, I would prefer to still track this as a leading diagonal. I still do not really trust this pattern to be forming an impulse. Theoretically, it could make sense, but yeah, this initial wave to the upside, this supposed wave 1, really has an unfavorable pattern for such a scenario, and in this case, we would still need to track this wave 5 in white as an A, B, C pattern. Nonetheless, even if this isn't an impulse information, even if we are only building a 3-wave structure in this area, I would find it likely that this wave 5 would only be within the wave A at this point, as we are still extending in this initial push to higher prices. And if you remember, we had a resistance level in the previous video that would signal a breakout to be much more likely. We would have known that with a sustained break above $51.5, this white interpretation would be in charge, and we seem to have managed to push above this level of resistance. Sure, initially we got rejected, but then we pushed higher, we tested from above, and we extended even higher. At this point, I do not find it likely for this to be an overshoot. I really am looking forward for this white interpretation to be following through. Now, In this structure, we haven't trusted the white scenario to provide us an opportunity within the larger time frame, but we have been looking for such an opportunity within the smaller time frame. Unfortunately, it hasn't built a reliable pattern to strongly suggest extension to higher prices, nor has it really formed a deep enough retracement to generate extremely favorable risk-reward ratios. And at this point, I would consider this to actually be building and following through within the area of an internal A, B, C pattern within this overall wave A, where I would expect to extend a bit higher before having a more substantial top within this wave C. And based on these developments, I would track this internal wave A as an A, B, C pattern itself. We would have this as a wave B, and within the wave C, I would likely be looking for this to be an ending diagonal in something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I could actually consider that the wave 3 top would be in place. I really do not need any further extensions. In fact, I would probably prefer that we have the wave 3 top in place, and I would be looking for a retracement into the area of support for a wave 4 at the levels between $56.9 down to $53.3. Now, as we are tracking an ending diagonal within this wave C, we would once again expect that within each of these waves to the upside, part of this wave C, we would have an A, B, C pattern, right? In every single one of them, we would expect such a development, including in this as a wave 4 correction, and in this follow-up in a wave 5. Ultimately, as long as we hold here $53.3, we can still look for continuation to higher prices within this structure, but once we form this additional extension to higher prices, there is a significant threat that a more substantial top would be in place. Now, could we trust any other scenarios, other structures within this area? They could work out, but trust is a strong word. I would strongly prefer to see an extension within these patterns if this structure is overall to succeed. And for me, if we get a sustained break below this last level of support for such a wave 4, it would be a rather strong signal that a more substantial top would be in place within the wave A, and I would start looking for a wave B correction to be taking charge. Now, I also want to highlight the risk that this wave 5 could technically top already. It could already have a top in place, but based on the overall developments, I do prefer this idea of an extension, and I will track such a development as long as we hold larger and deeper levels of support. But as we are currently still even above internal levels of support, I do not believe that to be a necessary aspect to focus on. Now, if we want to take a look at the RSI, we can notice that in the 30-minute time frame, we are struggling to form additional highs. If we go on the 1 hour time frame, yes, we can still see this would be within the wave 3 of the overall wave C, which is my preferred interpretation. Yes, we prefer one more high within this structure, but I'm strongly prepared for a top to be in place once this wave 5 extension forms a top. And I believe we can stop here for this video. You have the levels you need to watch. We know that below $53.3, it is rather likely that we have a top at least within the wave A, if not within the entire wave 5 to the upside. In terms of resistance, we are in discovery mode. We do not have immediate resistance levels to watch out for, but do consider from a larger time frame perspective these structural resistance levels, these previous tops that have formed along these lines. They can be expected to be more difficult to break, although we have managed to push into this latest one most recently in this push to the upside. We might be looking to extend to even the next levels, even the next highs within the follow-up wave C, if we are to actually get this extension within our internal wave 5. But for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoy our content and want to support us directly, check out our channel membership. And as a thank you for any of these actions, I would like to invite you to sign up to our channel newsletter, where you get access to our monthly top picks, where we identify for you high quality structures. Other than that, I wish you a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.